If someone has betrayed your trust, it can feel like having your world shattered. There's always a choice that comes after the trauma and the shock. Somebody cheated on you, lied to you. Maybe they have repeatedly lied to you. Like the world is falling apart around you. There's the anger and the frustration. How could this have happened? How could somebody do this to you? There's the grief of everything that you knew suddenly doesn't seem to be true anymore. It can feel like it was all a lie. There's the stress from the shock of the experience. Your world is one way one moment, and all of a sudden it feels completely different. A lot of people also experience a feeling guilty. Have they done something to create this experience? The shame, the embarrassment of what will people think if they find out somehow. It's a lot like that feeling of almost free falling through the air. You no longer have solid ground beneath you. You no longer have those walls around you keeping you comfortable and safe in that familiar space, because everything that was before now feels untrue, and everything coming up is one big question mark. It's uncertain. You don't know where it's going to take you, not in that moment. But not only do these experiences shatter your perception of your world, it can also shatter you. That inner stability gets shaken up. Self-esteem takes a hit, confidence takes a hit, your sense of self-value takes a hit. Some of the common questions that people wonder about when they have this experience: why are they so unlovable? What have they done to create this experience? Have they done something to push that person away that would encourage them to do something like that? Are they not enough? The trust you lose in the other person, that's one thing. But one of the things that makes recovering from betrayal so difficult is the trust that you lose in yourself. How do you go forward and make good decisions if that gets brought into question? Especially if the person who betrayed you was lying to you a lot and caused you to doubt yourself on a regular basis. If you don't trust yourself, it becomes much more difficult to feel safe with anyone until that trust in yourself is rebuilt. That's what makes betrayal so painful. If you are disconnected from yourself, it's going to be challenging to open yourself to love, to recognize what real love is. And from that place of disconnection, that's where some people turn to addictions. Could be alcohol, food, corn. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It becomes this broken record that's filled with more and more pain until you rebuild what shattered. The analogy of natural disasters, for example, tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, because depending on how severe those storms were, they can leave entire cities in crumbles. There's always a choice that comes after the trauma and the shock of such an experience: to leave it or to rebuild it. So if you find yourself internally shattered, there's the shock and the trauma that has to be dealt with, but then there's the choice. You can abandon what crumbled inside you, or you can rebuild it. In rebuilding it, you have an opportunity to make it stronger, safer, more comfortable, even more luxurious. It's up to you. Check out some of my other content on betrayal and learning how to trust again. I'll put the link below. The truth about dating after betrayal and trust loss. You know it's not going somewhere healthy, but you do it anyway. You get that rush, the high, the dopamine hit. So many people are talking about the dating crisis. betrayal and trust loss are a significant part of why so many people are avoiding dating now. Unable to choose, unable to change. Now, if you're not ready or you don't want to date, that's fine. You're not obligated to be in a relationship, to get married, to have children. But if part of you wants to date and it feels like there's something holding you back, it is possible to change, to open your heart again so that you feel safe and confident dating. I've seen it over and over again. The experience of betrayal is very human. It's something everyone has experienced firsthand in their life to varying degrees, of course. How is it that some people manage to go on after betrayal, even a very severe experience of betrayal, and they find meaningful connections in their life again? They have rewarding, fulfilling lives after the betrayal, where other people, it's like they get a little bit more jaded, a little bit more angry or bitter day after day after day. One very simple concept. It is the difference between unresolved betrayal and resolved betrayal. One leads to more pain, and the other leads to more pleasure, enjoyment, and satisfaction from their life. Unresolved betrayal creates what people refer to as self-sabotaging behavior. I would describe self-sabotaging behavior as behavior that leads to more pain. It either maintains the pain or it adds to the pain. There are so many different ways that this can look, and it's very dependent on the individual. It could be choosing the unbearable pain of feeling lonely day after day after day, but refusing to risk being betrayed. It can look like replacing human companionship with dopamine boosting addictions, for example, food binging, drug addiction, corn. I think you guys know what I'm saying there. It can look like spending time and investing your emotions into people that deep down you know aren't a good fit for you. You know it's not going somewhere healthy, but you do it anyway. You get that rush, the high, the dopamine hit. It can look like refusing to commit when someone that you know is a good fit for you is standing right in front of you. It can even look like becoming the betrayer, being the person that is doing the cheating and the lying so that you're no longer the one on the other side of that. On an unconscious level, these kinds of behaviors, it seems as though it's protecting you because it's keeping that experience of betrayal away. However, on a conscious level, you guys know it's destructive. People usually describe this as feeling stuck. They want to go forward in their life, but they just can't seem to do it. They keep making the wrong choices because part of them knows that this one thing over here would be really good for them, but there's this other part of them pulling them in a different direction, like that inner tug of war. Unable to choose, unable to change, point blank. Something that I always hear people say is, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not doing it. Or they'll change for a week or a couple of weeks, and then they go back to the old way. If you are someone who has been wondering why you are the way you are, those blocks can be resolved. What does it look like when that pain is resolved? Those pain-creating behaviors get replaced with more of you. And you are the one that gets to decide who you want to be. Someone that you value who now is also adding more value to other people's lives. Having more of the experiences that you want to have, resolving betrayal. You'll know it's been resolved because your heart becomes more open to healthy love. Healthy love isn't perfect, but it is stable, consistent, satisfying, and rewarding over time. Resolving self-sabotaging, or what I like to call pain-inducing behavior, makes it possible for you to nurture and grow deeper connections. Connections that have that extra spark, intrigue, the magnetic attraction, and it's mutual. Those are rare. So cherish them when you find them. Do the inner work so that you can let go of the pain-inducing behaviors and make room for those healthy, satisfying, rewarding connections. If you want to know more about the process I use for resolving betrayal and trust issues, I offer free one-on-one consultations, and I will put the link below. How to heal after being cheated on. The longer it drags out, the more painful it is. You can no longer maintain the lie. The truth is eventually faced. We're going to go through 3 basic steps. Some people never actually move on from this first phase, and that's problematic. I'm going to explain why. This is my take on what is a pretty universal experience. Number 1, rebuild your world. If you've just been cheated on, it can feel like your world has gone from certain and stable to utter chaos. Survival needs first: food, shelter, clothing, safety. It will be very, very difficult to get your external world stable if you're not safe, if you're worried about what that other person is going to do. A few examples. This might mean finding a shelter to stay at, or a friend or family member. This could mean relocating, getting a different job, or even something as simple as eating well, sleeping well, moving your body, even if you don't have the emotional energy to do what you normally do. Unfortunately, some people never actually move on from this first phase, and that's problematic. If a person doesn't get their external world stabilized, or if they just stop at that point and never go on to the next step, everything from that betrayal experience becomes externalized. It becomes all about the world, all about other people. Blaming the betrayer. Not that they were innocent, certainly not. If everything is on them, then guess what? You never have to change. But that also means you never get to change. You never get to have a new experience that would be so much more rewarding. You'll know if you stopped at this point because there will be a tendency towards overgeneralized judgments. For example, thinking all women are the problem or all men are the problem. Thinking everybody lets you down. The world is just a terrible place. There's nobody good in it. Having the same dating experiences over and over and over again. Choosing to suffer with terribly painful loneliness rather than risking getting hurt again. This is why it is so important to move on to the next phase. Number 2, rebuilding yourself. Phase 1 was all about what's outside of you. Phase 2 is all about what's going on internally. If you don't trust yourself, it's hard to feel safe with anyone, and it increases the chances of being betrayed or taken advantage of again. One of the things that I always hear people say after a betrayal and a trust loss, they saw the warning signs, but they went forward anyway. They didn't want to confront the issue. They didn't want it to be true, because if it's true, that's so much more painful than believing in a lie, until you can no longer maintain the lie. And so the longer it drags out, the more painful it is when the truth is eventually faced. So You can imagine. This is one of the hardest parts about betrayal and trust loss. This rebuilding yourself phase, it's the proverbial journey into the underworld. It's getting beneath the surface. It's finding the meaning and purpose for the experience, and it is different for everyone. There are no one-size-fits-all plans for these kinds of experiences. It's facing the self, not the betrayer. What I consistently hear people say is they feel like they let themselves down. They knew better, or they ignored the signs and they did it anyway. But this is also the moment that real healing becomes possible. The third phase, acceptance and forgiveness. Forgiveness happens spontaneously after you've resolved those internal bits. There's absolutely no need to force yourself to forgive someone unless you genuinely have done the resolution and the healing of that betrayal of your trust. It won't work. You'll be saying it, but deep down, you won't really be feeling it or believing it. When it happens spontaneously, people always say that they realize the forgiveness was more for themselves than it was for the benefit of the betrayer. It's the inner peace and the emotional freedom, that feeling of lightness that they experience internally. Acceptance and forgiveness are a natural byproduct of rebuilding your world and rebuilding yourself. Real forgiveness is the freedom you experience from the past. If you'd like to learn more about recovering after being cheated on and how I can help, I do offer one-on-one consultations. I will put the link below. If someone betrayed your trust in a relationship, watch this. Self-blame is a really common theme when someone has been cheated on. Blaming yourself is going to lead to feeling like about yourself. Confront it. People always find themselves asking, what did they do to deserve this? What are they lacking that their partner felt the need to seek someone else out? Is there something wrong with them that makes them somehow unlovable, not worthy of love? It has nothing to do with your worth or your value as a human being. Let's break this down a little bit. This is a normal response that people have after the shock and even the trauma of having been betrayed and cheated on. Looking inside, deep down, we know we're not perfect. So from that perspective, it makes sense. It's part of the survival aspect of how do I make sure this doesn't ever happen again? How to not feel like after being cheated on. There are healthy ways that can help open you more to love, romantic or platonic. And there are also ways that close you off to ever having intimacy, real healthy love with other people again. That's the part about yourself. But the part about the other person, if someone cheated on you, that is a reflection of where they were internally. Someone who is in a reasonably healthy, stable position inside of themselves will not lash out by lying to you, manipulating, breaking your trust, breaking their commitment to you. If there is an issue in a relationship, they will address it with you. They'll be honest. They'll talk to you about it. They'll confront it. You're only responsible for yourself. That's it. Being responsible for yourself is a very different experience than blaming yourself. Blaming yourself is going to lead to feeling like about yourself. In contrast, taking responsibility for yourself leads to adding value to how you see and perceive yourself. If you'd like help rebuilding your confidence and self esteem, especially after something like betrayal or trust loss in yourself or someone else, I offer one on one consultations. I will put the link below.